The workshop, titled Interdisciplinary Approaches to Trauma Studies in the 21st Century, is going to be held over a span of 5 days from 23rd June to 27 June 2025. And as you know, this is the first day. Let me quickly introduce about GIAN program. So the Global Initiative of Academic Networks, GIAN, is an ambitious effort by the Ministry of Education, Government of India, to internalize Indian higher education by bringing leading academicians and researchers from all around the world to Indian universities and institutions. Designed by a knowledge sharing platform, GIAN enables students, researchers, and faculty to engage directly with global experts through initiatives, short term courses. These engagements contribute to academic enrichment, strengthen the research ecosystem, and inspire the culture of critical thinking and inquiry. So, as we have introduced this, and we are just going to wait for some more minutes, and then we would proceed with the program. So, be comfortable, talk with each other, and let's make it a successful event for the next 5 days. And we already have our guest, Professor Amy, here. So please feel free to talk with her, to kind of interact with her. Okay, so please be happy and be warm and be welcoming kind of thing. Okay, thank you so much.
Uh, Hello. Hello. Before we begin the formal proceedings, I would like to invite our esteemed guests to kindly proceed to pay homage to Mahamana Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya ji, whose ideals and visions continue to inspire us. May I request the dignitaries to please move forward for the floral tribute. We have Mayank sir with us. So I would request all the dignitaries to please move forward for the floral tribute. Thank you to all the guests. Now I would like to invite all the guests to please take their seats on the dais. We now move to a small token of our heartfelt appreciation and welcome. I now request Dr. Shipra Tholia ma'am to felicitate Professor Amy Pozorski and Professor Madhu Tabade. I think you can go there. Thank you, Shipra ma'am. I would request Dr. Amar Singh sir to felicitate Professor Anita Singh ma'am and Dr. Mayank sir. Thank you, sir. To share the course's vision and academic trajectory, I now invite Dr. Shipra Tholia, the course coordinator, to present the concept note for this GIN program. Ma'am is an assistant professor in the Department of German, BHU. Ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for coming from Pune, Kerala, and Assam, and God knows from like all over India you have come. It really means a lot to us. And I also thank our local coordinator, Professor Madhu ma'am, and Amy. She has traveled from USA especially for us, and Anita ma'am, who is always with us, and Professor and Dr. Mank sir. He's like a family member. So thank you so much for coming here and supporting us. So I'll briefly just sum up what we are going to do. I know you are worried about certificates. So everyone will get certificate. Those who want graded certificate, they will also get graded certificate. For this course, I think you get 1 grade. It's 1 credit course. So we'll talk about it in detail, so you don't have to worry. And I'll just sum up the concept. So trauma study is, as we know, it's relatively a new field, despite several psychological research related to traumatic memories has been ongoing since the early part of the 20th century. It was after the horror of World War that there was a shift in the perspective of how to view the atrocities that the war's victims experienced. In German studies, we cite Erich Maria Remarque for his novel All Quiet at Western Front, in Western Neues. So this was among the first books, that stopped glorifying war and talked about the trauma of soldiers. The book says, death is not an adventure to those who stand face to face with it. In spite of the attempts by literary scholars, it was not until 1980s that a recognized diagnosis was introduced in the Handbook of American Psychiatry. In establishing trauma research, the survivor of the Holocaust made a significant contribution through the moral witness that was provided. As Elie Wiesel, a very famous Holocaust survivor, she says, "Never shall I forget that night, the first night in camp, which has turned my life into one long night, 7 times cursed and 7 times sealed. Never shall I forget that smoke. Never shall I forget the little faces of the children, whose bodies I saw turned into wreaths of smoke beneath a silent blue sky. Never shall I forget those flames which consumed my faith forever. Never shall I forget that nocturnal silence which deprived me for all eternity of the desire to live." But in medical science, if we see, trauma refers mainly to physical injuries, as we have trauma center. No? And these are physical injuries caused by external forces. It encompasses a wide range of injuries from minor wounds to life-threatening conditions, and they categorize it in three sections: blunt, penetrating, and decelerating, or by the body, the area that has been affected. Whereas the psychiatrists understand trauma as a psychological response to distressing or disturbing experiences. The emotional impact can vary significantly from person to person. But in humanities, trauma is understood as a rupture in identity construction. For that, I would quote Elida Esman. She says trauma is related to an experience that is so incomprehensible, humiliating, painful, or life threatening that perception automatically closes its gates to such an intruder. For the sake of self protection, it has been excluded and shut off in a separate compartment from the conscious mind because it destroys the framework within which the person constructs his identity. When Shakespeare presents Hamlet with the dilemma of to be or not to be, as to what course of action he should take moving forward, since he no longer recognizes his role, he is pitted against the spectre of his father, a metaphorical manifestation of the psychological trauma he is experiencing, thereby hindering his ability to plan a reasonable course of action. However, the ghost is also symbolic of the historical memory embedded in the cultural framework. Thus, to move forward, it is imperative for Hamlet that we accept what has happened both individually and collectively. Speaking from German studies perspective, where the term Wiedergutmachen, now Germans are obsessed with this thing that we can do everything better again, is nothing but a reiteration of experiencing the terrible event again and again in hope of making it better. The film Run Lola Run can be an example, particularly concerning Lola's relentless pursuit to save money and her own internal struggles. Three different scenarios, each with varying outcomes, represent Lola's attempt to process and cope with a traumatic event, exploring different potential resolution. But Trauma studies is not just about sadness and humiliation or the bad memories. It also shines a light into dark places and help individuals, families, and societies find paths to recover, find paths to recovery, resilience, and even transformation. So, yes, trauma study is not only about the sad memory, but it does bring hope. And with this 5 days course, we wish to embark on this healing journey. And I thank all of you who are present here, and also Professor Saha, who has been guiding us, and my colleague, Dr. Om Prakash. Sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Um, Moving ahead, I would like to introduce Professor Madhu Thapadia, and why? Because she is the local coordinator of GIN BHU. Professor Tapadia is a professor in the Department of Zoology, Banaras Hindu University. She is also the student's advisor of the Institute of Science. Professor Tapadia has done extensive work in the field of development biology. She is a trained geneticist and also a cytogeneticist. Professor Tapadia is also a member of the Indian Society of Developing Biologists. So may I request Professor Madhu Thapadia to share her thoughts with us. Ma'am, please.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and good morning everyone. Professor Amy Kosorski from US, Dr. Mayank Singh, Professor Anita Singh, Dr. Shipra, Dr. Amar, Dr. Professor Satyan Saha, Professor Om Prakash, and all the participants who are from BHU and who have come all the way from different parts of India to attend this program. So this is, as she had introduced in her earlier, the Global Initiative Academic Networks. This is again, it's a initiative of Ministry of Education. What I feel is in academics, crosstalk is very important. You know, you have to learn about different kinds of perspectives from different people, and in academics, so therefore networking is very important, because until there's networking, there cannot be crosstalk. And so therefore, this is a very thoughtful initiative of the government, because it makes the path of visitors from abroad coming to India very easy. You know, they provide all kinds of support, and they're very helpful, because funding is the most important aspect in any of these workshops or conferences or any seminars. So the government makes sure that this program runs very smoothly, and they have very strict guidelines. And even for the participants, it's you have to pass a test actually. So a very rigorous kind of curriculum they have set. It's not that, you know, many times, you know, participants, they come, they register, but then it's mostly for, partly for academics, but partly also for visiting. But they have made very strict guidelines about attendance and everything. So I request the participants, the students who are the next line of academicians, to make sure that you attend all the courses. And as this topic is very it looks very interesting to me, because trauma in a different kind of different way. And I'm reminded of the story of elephant, you know, where different people, they touch elephant at different parts, and then that's their, they are not wrong in identifying what they are experiencing, but that's not complete. So this program is actually bringing different perspectives together, so that you can interact and you can enhance your thinking ability, you can broaden your perspective. That's what I feel. And about Varanasi, you all may have experienced the city, and at present Varanasi is undergoing lot of, you know, transformations, changes, which sense a kind of, you know, you feel a kind of chaos everywhere. But as I always maintain, that Varanasi or Banaras, you don't have to see it, you have to feel it. Okay, so you have to close your eyes and you have to let your inner consciousness feel the spirituality that's everywhere in Varanasi. So I request you all to not look at the chaos which is on the surface, but delve deep down so that you are driven to come back again to Varanasi. And Dr. Shipra and Dr. Amar, they have made put lot of efforts to design a very nice curriculum for you all. And I hope you and Professor Amy is there, so you get the most out of her experience and their experience, and you can also interact among yourselves. And I hope that these next 5 days will be very, very good academically as well as in all other aspects. And this is the third program that we have in Varanasi. Two earlier, there are actually 8 courses that have been approved by the government, and I'm very happy that this one is from the field of arts, because most of them, the other, like Professor Satyan Sai concluded one program, and mostly it's from the science area because there are a lot of experiments and everything to be done. But then I think I heard that they have also designed some kind of tutorials. I hope that you enjoy very much and leave with a sense of satisfaction. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, I would introduce Dr. Mayank Narayan Singh. He is the founder of Kashi Manthan, a platform for philosophical, spiritual, religious, and academic discourses prevailing in Varanasi. Sir is trained in international relations with a focus on China and Pakistan. He is the author of a political strategy thriller, Wolf's Liar. Dr. Mayank also runs a YouTube channel called or titled Samvad @Mayank. Do visit. We now request Dr. Mayank, the Joint Registrar, BHU, to address the gathering. Sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. And big regards to everybody present on stage and all of those who have come from outside. By now, you might have realized that I am the only non-academician on stage. So I do everything apart from academics. So when Amar invited me for this show, and this I'm getting back to my YouTube channel. So for this event, the first question I had in mind is to what exactly is trauma studies? I mean, you can understand my illiteracy in this regard. So I Googled. I generally don't Google things to find out. I try to find it out from books, but I had to Google. And what came out was scary. Shall I read it out to you? Maybe. I mean, you're all students of English literature. And I'll take a few minutes. I'll not leave the stage very early. When I get the stage, I grab it. So what Google says that trauma studies in English literature is a field that explores how traumatic experiences are represented in literature and how these representations reflect the psychological, cultural, and societal impacts of trauma. Now, Madhu ma'am was saying that when you visit Banaras, Kashi, I call it Kashi, name Kashi Manthan comes from that, you feel a disorder. I mean, for general people, it gets very traumatic. So from people from outside, you can do a lot of things, you can work on a lot of things. See trauma for yourself. What happens when disorder descends into chaos and then finally comes back to order? So how does it work? Nobody knows. Baba Vishwanath knows. He's the Lord of the city. He knows how to make things work. And then I realized I delved back into, and before delving into anything, I mean, I'm the reason you guys are out here because I study conflict. I'm still a student. I study conflict on a daily basis. And President Donald Trump, he gives us so much literature. He is into so many things at the same time that you actually realize what trauma is when you are an adversary, because you're not sure as to what is coming out next. I was once talking to Irfan Khan. He's no longer here. So he said that he suddenly got silent and he said, Ki, this is, I said, what happened? He said, no, you will think it's a pregnant pause. People in cinema, it is called pregnant pause. But actually, I don't know what's coming out next. So I'm just thinking before speaking next. So Mr. Trump does not believe in that theory at all. So before delving into modern trauma studies, I realized something, that we study English literature mostly, and I'm not a literature from a student, so Amar and Professor Indra, you have to excuse me for any mistakes I make. But then mostly our perspective is what, how the world sees India. It's less of how India sees India, how Bharat sees Bharat. So the first prose, call it poetry, call it whatever, came out, you know when? Thousands of years ago, thousands, it's not modern literature. When there was a sage who was sitting in meditation, and in front of him there were two conch birds. I'm not sure as to what that is called in English. My English is that bad. So they were very intimate, and there was a fowler in the area who killed one of the birds. Now this actually traumatized the sage who was sitting there in meditation, and he spoke in Sanskrit, which is considered to be the first prose poetry. I'm not sure how to define it. And he said, Ma nishada pratishtha tvagama shashwati samah yat kaunch mituna deka mavadhi kama mohitam. So he basically cursed the fowler for what he had done. That was trauma for him, and that was the birth of the writing of Ramayana. The sage was Valmiki, and Ramayana, if you delve into Ramayana, it's now when I listen to everybody on stage, and I was thinking about it and listening to you people and seeing your faces, Ramayana is a story of trauma. It's actually a story of trauma where a father has to send his favorite son to the jungle because his favorite wife desires so. And the son, who is an ideal son, an ideal person, goes into the jungle, his wife is kidnapped. Now he has two options. He either comes back to Ayodhya, rules as the king, or finds his wife and comes back. The easier option is to come back to Ayodhya. But then what would the societies say? Now when I say this, there are a lot of literature flowing out already from trauma. But he decides to go, and you know the rest of the story. Then you go to Mahabharata. Very traumatized character. Shakuni, who is very angry because his sister, his favorite sister, is married to a blind prince. The blind prince Dhritarashtra, who's traumatized because he did not get that throne because he was blind. So he's always traumatized, and both of them then traumatize the son and the nephew through their own traumas. And then there is Draupadi. Now you know why she's traumatized. So it's a story of traumas. Coming back to modern times, I'll stop very soon because it's getting overtime now. So you get back to modern times. Shipra was talking about the wars. Now what led to those wars? It was people like me. The Sykes-Picot Agreement, where they divided the Ottoman Empire into spheres of influence, the British and the French, and the Balfour Declaration around the same time, which led to the birth of Israel. Now Israel, it's a biblical thing with them. They want their land, it's their divine land. The Palestinians say, we have been living on this land for thousands of years. And the rest of the world plays along, sometimes with this side, sometimes with that side. That's geopolitics. We had the partition arising out of the same thing. And as far as I know, not much literature on partition, which is a traumatic time for the people who went through partition. I mean, I've read Train to Pakistan, and Amrita Pritan has written something about it. Manto wrote something about it, but not much in English, I believe. Okay, translated. I stand corrected. So there was a trauma of Mahatma Gandhi getting assassinated, and I'm told, I was reading somewhere that Harivansh Rai Bachchan sat down and wrote 108 poems for for 108 days. He sat there because it was a trauma for him. So he kept on writing. So a lot of things which are going around. My final message, you are all young people and you are growing up in Bharat. I call it Bharat when I'm talking of the young people, which is resurgent. So if you don't tell your story, if you don't write your story, be it traumatic, be it otherwise, the world will keep on telling your story. And we'll be audience to our own stories, listening to what we are through foreign lenses. So this is an opportunity. I believe we'll get the opportunity to interact with each other, learn about each other, learn about the city, and do something big, because it is time for Bharat to rise again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now it's time to introduce our resource person, Professor Amy Rodzowski. So it's a great honor to introduce her, and she's the professor of English at Central Connecticut State University, where she also serves as co-director of graduate studies and coordinator of the certificate in racial justice. Dr. Projoski earned her PhD in English from Emory University in 2003, and since then she has established herself as a leading scholar in the 20th and 21st century American literature, transatlantic modernism, and trauma studies. Her notable works include Ross and Trauma, The Problem of History in the Later Works, Falling After 1911, Crisis in American Art and Literature, and AIDS, Trauma, and Politics. Most recently, she co-edited the Bloomsbury Handbook of Philip Roth, published in 2024. Professor Amy, Dr. Shipra, and Dr. Ramar have collectively worked in bringing a special issue of the journal Humanities on trauma. Dr. Projoski has also chaired Philip Roth studies. In addition to her scholarship, Dr. Projoski has made significant contribution to literary pedagogy, including contemporary literature, racial justice in literature, and trauma, and an American novel also. Her work seamlessly blends academic depth with a passion and commitment to social and cultural discourse. We are privileged to have her with us today, and we really look forward to gain expertise and insight from her. And may I call you to the dais and please introduce our participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Hello, friends, distinguished guests, and students. I would like to thank our hosts, Dr. Shipra Tolia and Dr. Amar Singh, whom I met early in the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have been collaborators ever since. We first worked on a special issue of the double-blind peer-reviewed journal Humanities on trauma, ethics, and illness in contemporary literature and film. And that was so successful that we're now working on a print volume. In that issue, our contributors wrote about war representation, mental illness, the effects of colonization, to mention only a few. And it is there that we began to connect the language of trauma with the language of so many other issues that affect us this very day. I would also like to thank the Guyan program for supporting this seminar, and all of you for being here this week to discuss interdisciplinary approaches to trauma and trauma studies in the 21st century, a topic that affects and addresses us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Amy, for the perfect start to this 5-day course. Now, it is my honor and privilege to introduce Professor Anita Singh, the distinguished head of Department of English at Banaras Hindu University. Professor Singh is a renowned academic whose expertise spans gender studies, performance studies, and contemporary literary theory. Her work has been widely published in national and international journals, and she has consistently contributed to enriching interdisciplinary scholarship in the humanities. As a teacher, scholar, and an administrator, Professor Singh exemplifies excellence, leadership, and academic integrity. Under her guidance, the Department of English, BHU, continues to uphold its legacy of critical inquiry, innovation, and academic rigor. So please join me in extending a warm welcome to Professor Anita. Ma'am.
Thank you so much, Srija. A very good morning to all the dignitaries on the dais, Professor Amy, Professor Madhu, Ms. Dr. Mayangji, and Amar and Shipra, the very dynamic duo. And so this is the hall. A couple of years back, we were here for a very wonderful conference that both of them had organized. And I guess subsequently they had brought out an anthology also for that. So I'm so happy that this Gyan course is happening and two of these people are organizing it. I've heard of Gyan course being organized at other universities, but I've never heard of people from the humanities doing it. This is probably the first time. So, and thank you so much, Professor Madhu, for having this course to happen here. So, coming back to the topic, a lot of people have already spoken about trauma studies from very different perspective. Because I come from humanities and literature, so if we look at how trauma is manifested or how it is represented in literature, so the two words trauma and representation, they are very oxymoron. One cannot represent trauma. It is unrepresentable. It is an unspeakable, feeling. It's an unspeakable experience. It is so repressed. It is so much pervasive that language fails. We fail as a linguistically, we fail to encapsulate the trauma, the pain in language. So there's a poet in English literature. Even if you're not from English literature, probably you have heard of him. His name is Shelley. So Shelley, in his younger days, he eloped with a girl, a little old lady who was a little older than him, and he escaped to Europe. And for that, he was ostracized, alienated, isolated, and he suffered a lot. And he suffered so much because of this love affair and the elopement that he did not know how to, speak of this. So he wrote, I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed. So very often we use physical objects to define our pain. My heart is on fire. My leg is so heavy, it feels like I have pebbles on my leg, and so on. So we find metaphoric language in order to define pain and so on. Very recently, I watched a movie. Some of you may have also seen it. It's there on the Netflix, Manchester by the Sea. And there is a central character called Lee Chandler. And there has been an unfortunate incident that in an alcoholic state, he forgets to cover the fireplace. And as a result, the entire house burns down. And two of his daughters, including in that house. So you can understand it's such a painful event and painful memory for him. So as he goes on in his life, he cannot forego this memory. It keeps haunting him in different ways. And this deep pain that he experiences, a sense of immense guilt, a sense of failure of responsibility as a father, as a person, as a human, it keeps haunting him. And as a result, it affects all his relationship. He is isolated, he is desolate, and so on and so forth. So what I was trying to say, how language fails to capture the experience that Lee Chandler has. The entire movie makes attempts at different ways in order to apprise the readers, the viewers, of how this man is undergoing that kind of a pain. Gilles Deleuze uses a term that is called folding in order to explain this, how it keeps recurring. It keeps recurring in different ways in our relationship, in our language, in our everyday activities. It's there at the back of our mind. We are not able to express it. So he uses the term folding, or what Griselda Pollack says, a perpetual presence. It's a kind of a perpetual presence that, inhabit us, and it finds no outlet, and it finds outlet at different places, at different ways, and so on. So that is how the grief is, or that is how trauma is, and that is how trauma is represented in literature. Two movies I will briefly mention. Again, which we have all said, trauma is represented in different ways in literature. One is called a good representation, the other could be called not a good representation. So, two movies, Gone with the Wind, we are all familiar with, it's based on a novel by Margaret Mitchell, and the other is Padmavat, back home in India. Now, Gone with the Wind is based on racial discrimination, years of slavery. So it is immense. I mean, the topic is immense. The pain that it tries to talk about is huge. But what does it do? It whitewashes slavery by talking about the relationship between two characters, Red Butler and Scarlett O'Hara. So it kind of dilutes the seriousness of slavery that led to the Civil War, and the dehumanization of slavery that should have been spoken more about, but somewhere it got as I said, whitewashed by this beautiful love affair between Red Butler and Scarlett O'Hara. Similarly, if you look at Padmavat, a movie made by Sanjay Leela Bansali, so what you can immediately think of that comes to your mind, the grandeur of scenario. Padmavat also talks about mass suicide, it talks about Johar, but somewhere all those are submerged by. So when, as an audience, as spectators, we come out of the movie, what are we talking about? We're talking about the beauty of Deepika Padukone, or the mannerisms of the hero Ranveer Singh, and so on, and the extravagance of the songs, the sets, and so on. So, what is the writer, the director, or the producer doing this? Again, it is diluting the seriousness of the topic that should have been dealt, in a movie. Claude Lanzmann, a very important director and producer, who has produced a 9.5-hour movie called Shao. Shao is a Hebrew word which means Holocaust or catastrophe. So it's a 9.5-hour documentary. It is available in fragments in YouTube. You can watch it. Very beautifully made. So he says in one of his articles, obscenity of understanding, that literature should not be merely for understanding. So literature, by literature, I'm extending it to creative arts, to films, to media, and to other things, should not merely be for entertainment, but the purpose of creative art is to take us from the knowable to the unknowable of the human understanding. So with these words, I thank you all for coming. I thank all the esteemed members on the dais. I thank Shipra and Amar for organizing this, Madhu for facilitating this, Professor Mayang, Dr. Mayang also for facilitating this. In some ways, I'm sure he is behind it, and Professor Amy for will be conducting this program successfully, I'm sure. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Anita ma'am. It's always a pleasure to listen to you. Moving forward, we have also received wishes and encouraging words from the Dean, Faculty of Arts, Banaras and the University. So I shall read the message in quotes. The inauguration of the Jian course at BHU marks a significant academic initiative aimed at fostering cross-disciplinary dialogue on the complexities of trauma through literary, psychological, historical, and cultural lenses. In response to the contemporary global challenges, the course explores evolving theoretical frameworks and diverse forms of memory. It is honored by the presence of Professor Amy Pozorsky, a leading voice in trauma studies, whose participation enhances its international scope. Appreciation is extended to Dr. Shipra Tholia for her leadership, along with Dr. Amar Singh and Professor Madhu Tapadia for their collaborative efforts in shaping this interdisciplinary endeavor. Moving forward, I would like to invite Dr. Amar Singh. He is the co-coordinator of the GIAN course and an assistant professor in the Department of English, MMB BHU, to extend a vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Good morning, everyone. And, warm welcome to everybody who's here on the dais and all of you. Whatever I'm going to say, whatever I had prepared, I saw everybody has covered here, especially Anita ma'am. So I don't know what to say. But again, the other day I was reading a book by Peggy Fallon titled Performing Public Memories. And there she brought some points that I found very interesting regarding trauma. So for trauma, she says that this particular term reflects two things. One is a body injury, and another is the psychological implications. So when it comes to psychoanalysis, as Professor Anita Singh, she explained, the symbolization, it escapes. You cannot manifest it. You cannot describe. So people try and they go from one work to another to identify what has actually happened with them. So there's a quote of hers where she says, often trauma is not recognized until well after it has happened, in part because it is a complete contained event. Now, I would like to bring the attention to this aspect of complete and contained event. Now, we as humans, we are habitual of living through uncertainties, living through abstract ideas. We are doing so much, evolving through technology, doing quantum physics and all that, doing poetry, writing literature. So we are good in that. But when something happens, something that we deride, something that we wish to escape from, and it actually happens, so it's an absolute event. It has happened with us. So how to describe it? How to, analyze it? So I believe that's where literature, cinema, art, poetry, painting, all these come into action, because it lets the reader, the participants, to basically analyze, to process what has actually happened with them. And at times it happens that not only it helps to process, but it also helps to identify. Just another example, like Tare Zameen Par. Most of the students, kids, they realize that, oh, मेरे साथ ये हो रहा है. Like my father, my mother, they have been torturing me all along. So this is actually happening with me. Parents, they realized that, okay, what they were doing with their kids. There's other side, Bagma is also there. So, I'm glad that we are getting this opportunity to organize this program, and we are having Professor Amy with us. All thanks to Global Initiative of Academic Networks, which is shortened as, some people call it as GIAN. I would call it GYAN. Okay, and because GYAN has this another implication, the meaning becomes something spiritual. So I believe that you people are here, and over the 5 days, maybe you'll be profoundly affected and influenced. Thanks to Ministry of Education for sponsoring this program. Next, my gratitude extends to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Sanjay Kumar, sir, for making the execution of this program a smooth process. Then there are two people, Dean of Faculty of Arts, Professor Sushma Gildial, and Principal of MMV, Professor Rita Singh. Both of them provided us with the much required official assistance in order to streamline the process for this program. Now, having mentioned about streamlining the process, we have Madhu ma'am with us. Over the past few months, she has become more of a guardian to us. She has been not only like she's guiding us regarding the program, but she's also giving small inputs, which works like magic. So thank you, ma'am, for all the inputs that you have given. Next individual that I would like to thank is Mayank sir, because as Anita ma'am said, that he is like involved covertly, helping us in every possible manner. This would have been trauma for me if it would have fallen. Okay, so he has helped us, and I've seen not only to me, I've seen to other faculties, and mostly he's so pro student that he actually wishes to see them succeed. And he made this Kashi Manthan platform only to assist those students, and I've seen students doing wonderful things. Um, so thank you, sir, for everything that you do for us. Um, Next, we have Professor Anita Singh, and I would say that her name, she as a person carries a lot of value for me, because for like I've known her for more than 20 years. First as a student, then next I worked with her as her research scholar. Then I am her colleague now, and um, the thing that I've seen in her, that she provides that space to express oneself freely. So this democratic liberal value that she carries, she's very firm, but she's also very liberal in that sense, that she allows people to open themselves up. So she has brought those values as an administrator in the department, and department in that sense is flourishing. So thank you, ma'am, for everything. Uh, and then I would also like to extend my gratitude to my partner, Dr. Shipra Tholia. I mean, the collaboration in personal life has also extended in the professional life, and since then it has been very good for me. I don't know about her. Things have been turning out good for me. So, and then I would also like to thank Professor Satin sir and Dr. Om Prakash. Now comes the uh, man or woman of the hour, this Professor Amy. I don't know how to thank her, because like uh, you have seen, she's she's that nature. She carries herself with such with such humor, with such kindness, that it reflects, it gets to you, like it comes to you. You become that person, what she is. Um, I like I'm having the privilege of knowing her for last 4 or 5 years. As she mentioned, we have done a little bit of collaboration, and I believe that it will extend even with this program and later on. Um she's a like she's an exceptional professor. She's kind to her students, but more than that, she's an outstanding human being. And for 5 days, you're going to witness this, and she is the best teacher for trauma, I would say. So thank you, ma'am, for being here. Um, Lastly, I would like to thank the guest house people who have provided the necessary accommodations to even to students as well. And there are office people as well here, like in the central office, in Faculty of Arts, in MMB. So if anybody is left out, please, I would like to apologize. Thank you. And also I would like to have a little bit of clapping for these two, our anchors, and Atanu and Prashant. They have been doing wonderful job. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now that sir reminded that we are the anchors, I think we forgot to introduce ourselves. So I am Shrija and she is,
Anvesha Adhikari.
and we are scholars, research scholars from the Department of English. Coming to the closure of the inaugural session, I would urge all of you to please stand up for the national anthem. जनगणमनाधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे I would request all of you to you can go outside and have your snacks.